Long time no see, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking about GRANBLUE Fantasy versus the recently announced fighting game by Arc System Works that they're working on with Cygames. We've all seen the trailer. We've all seen how the game looks like in terms of its visual aesthetics, just super beautiful. We've all seen the roster, how it varies from different characters, from a very small elf dwarf princess to a crazy like knight ninja man. Famitsu interviewed Tetsuya Fukuhara, the GRANBLUE franchise director, to kind of explain a little bit about the game, where it's headed, what it's going for, and what we can expect from it. And I kind of wanted to highlight some of the things in this interview and get my thoughts out there so we can kind of speculate and have a nice discussion as to how the game is going to be like when it finally arrives in 2019. Now, they interviewed Fukuhara for two different games, of course, GRANBLUE Fantasy Versus and GRANBLUE Fantasy Relink, which is an action adventure RPG GRANBLUE game, which looks really pretty. Actually, it looks really good. I'm actually might be interested in playing this game when it finally comes out. I like action RPG, so when GRANBLUE being a series that I've always wanted to get into, it'd be really fun to be able to see it and play it myself. However, we're here for GRANBLUE Fantasy Versus, so let's get into the questions that we're all wondering about. Before I get started with the article, actually, I wanted to personally thank Dominic Gwen, which is the person that translated the article to English, so for us to be able to read and understand and see what's going on with the article. So big shout outs to him. I'll link his Twitter in the description down below. So the first question that kind of stood out to me when Famitsu asked is, of course, the question where it's really surprising that they chose Arc System Works as the developer. Why did they choose Arc System Works? And then he responded with, there's so many fighting game creators that we could have chosen in Japan. But because he loves Guilty Gear, he goes into explaining that he loves Guilty Gear, he loves BlazBlue, and fits the whole look and feel of GRANBLUE Fantasy. But for the most part, Guilty Gear seems to be the one that really resonated with him. And it seems like he wasn't necessarily the person that chose Arc System Works, it was the people above him. But however, it's really cool that they were able to choose Arc System Works because they make incredible anime adaptation like fighting games. Like, well, they only have one in their repertoire right now, but it was so well done that they had to choose them and such, which is of course Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is such a beautiful looking game that nailed the animation and the look and feel of the game perfectly. So I'm not surprised that Cygames went over to Arc System Works to be able to nail that look and feel of GRANBLUE Fantasy. This next one, they asked something that really interested me, and I was really curious as to what they would answer as. And the question is, you said you play a lot of Guilty Gear. Will GRANBLUE Fantasy Versus be a high-speed combo-based game like Guilty Gear? And this answer surprised me because yes, Guilty Gear is a very combo-based heavy game, but not as much as other fighting games such as like BlazBlue or Dragon Ball and such. Guilty Gear is more grounded than all of those other anime fighters. Even though there's air dashing, double jumping, there's respected characters that take flight like Chip and Milia, but there's also a lot of different grounded Oki situations that Guilty Gear has, which really cool. And it has a really cool Yomi game that I like a lot. However, he did reply by saying that this game will not be combo based. He says that he enjoys games with extended technical combos, but they make the barrier for entry for new players very high. And that's one of the biggest reasons that people drop fighting games. Now, it's interesting that he said that because yes, that is one of the reasons why people drop fighting games this day and age, is the execution barrier to do cool and flashy combos. At the same time, that's also one of the reasons why people like fighting games so much, is the cool and the flashiness and the hard work that you can put into a fighting game and have a great payoff. But I definitely understand, and I definitely see how they want to expand beyond that and branch out to other different people to be able to bring them into the fighting game genre. I can respect that and I can understand that, of course. But I just want to keep in mind that sometimes when you simplify things a little bit too much without giving some depth and complexity, it can end up hurting it in a negative way. So I definitely understand it, but I hope they keep that in mind. Another thing that stood out to me in this response was when they asked what button is the triangle button and looked down at their controller when playing. Now this made me laugh because I don't know who, even though if they don't play it now, he goes into the perspective where the player have never played a console game and such, has never played those type of games, looking for through the eyes of a completely brand new console player to play fighting games. And I found it really funny. I said, where is the triangle button? Listen, Okay, if you are playing a fighting game or any video game, so to speak, on a console, and you have to ask yourself, where is the triangle button? You have a problem. there is an issue here that probably goes beyond video games. If you cannot rely on people to press a single button up top, if you can't rely on people to press, hold on, give me a minute, move dog, hold on. This button, this one right here, there's an issue. This is a problem. So the whole reason why he's explaining this is because they're going to be simplifying the game to where you can do special moves with one button. Now, that's the only thing that I don't like. I do like the whole aspect. It was bad enough that they simplified the motions of specific fighting games to having quarter circle forward motions and down motions, which I totally understand. I was on board with that, to be honest. But when they're simplifying it to a T where you can only use one button, not even now this could be him just saying, okay, it's a motion and a button specified just for special moves. However, if it's coming down to the case where you can only press one button to execute a special move and then probably move forward and then execute a special move, which goes into another special move, and then same thing with back. If that is the case, okay, I'm all for simplifying fighting games, but when you simplify into the fact that you only bring them down to one button, it kind of takes some fun out of the game. And at the same time, the game is not out yet. I don't know what to expect from this game. They can make some changes and such. I'm just expressing emotions right now pertaining to how they're approaching the game, which can be good, but at the same time, it could also be very bad if they are worrying about people not having to find the triangle button on a controller. I mean, come on. Another thing that really stood out to me was, of course, when he asked about, you know, spectator pleasing fighting games and how to kind of keep them engaged and such, and how to really have the crowd follow what's going on screen. And I don't mind that the solution that they brought out about this. They said something along the lines of that they designed the game to be a little bit more spectator pleasing and to having to be easier to follow by lowering down the animation speed so they can find out what's going on. Okay, this person is doing a special move, this person is doing a normal move, and he can continue the combo through that. And by doing simpler combos, they can also kind of like monitor how much, you know, you can keep up with the game, which I don't mind the decision, to be honest. It does help out to some extent to follow what's going on. Some fighting games can get freaking absolutely insane, like Dragon Ball FighterZ, when you have all characters on screen, you have one moving around while one covers the other one. You have games like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle where you cannot keep up which character is actually active at the time. You know, there's crazy stuff going on. And Guilty Gear, of course, having so much crap on the screen with the crazy like YRC cancels, having lightning in front while Kai just follows it, and it gets nuts. It gets nuts. So I don't mind them kind of simplifying that aspect of the game by lowering the speed to make room for more animation. It just makes the game a lot prettier and also to make it more easier to look at. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. The next thing I found interesting was, of course, the elements and the different ailments that they could incorporate into the game, whether it be buffs, heals, and such. And they did address this. Famitsu asked, in the original game, not all abilities deal damage. Some heal or buff. Are there any of those in the game? And surprisingly, he answered back with yes, there is going to be stuff like that in the game. For example, he said Gran can cast Rage, and Gran is the main character of the game, which is a buff ability that can make him do more damage. And there's other abilities in the game that can buff attack, that can heal, that can provide elemental attacks, which I'm guessing can lead to like ailments such as burn. It does damage over time, similar to poison in BlazBlue with Bang and Rachel, and also different things. I mean, I don't mind that at all, as long as they're not ailments like Persona 4 Arena. There were some ailments in Persona 4 Arena that really made me go ballistic. There were some ailments such as I think Dizzy, where it would switch up your directions. It was paralyzed, where you cannot move from that specific place. You can jump in place, but you cannot move at all from that place. I did not like those at all. So, however, like different things like buffing, there's always been like some characters in different fighting games where they would buff you their attacks, or they would provide some sort of a heal, like Celica from BlazBlue, or maybe to something that can enhance their attacks, like S. So I don't mind this. It's actually a pretty interesting addition, and depending on how they can incorporate it, it can be really, really fun. The next thing is how the game is actually going to play like. Now, it's not going to be your traditional air dasher because, well, from what we saw from the trailer, there wasn't any double jumps, there wasn't any air dashing, and because it doesn't have all of that, it's going to be more of a grounded heavy game that requires a lot of whiff punishing, neutral, and spacing, similar to possibly Koihime and Embu, and also Under Night and Birth, maybe. But they did say in the interview that they want it to be more like Street Fighter 2, which is an old school game that required all that stuff, the spacing, the neutral, the footsies, all that stuff was present in Street Fighter 2, which more of a simplified move list, which you had a couple of special moves, some long range normals, and you can just combo it to some extent, but not necessarily that much. So that's the direction that they want to head in with this game, making it not your traditional air dasher. The last question that I was very interested in was when Famitsu asked how far into development the game is, and Fukuhara responded with it's about 60% done, which means that all of the basics, all the mechanics, everything, the foundation is laid on the game. And they even mentioned that the source code is also implemented, which means that everything is pretty much ready. All they have to worry about is game modes, characters, refining, polishing, and making this a game, essentially packaging it up and sending it out. But however, there is pretty much over halfway done. So this is coming out a lot sooner than we thought, and of course they probably have to phone calls and interrupting my videos. So nonetheless, the game is just about done. Now it's all in terms of the characters. I think that's the part where people really care about the most. And of course the gameplay. However, the characters are what GRANBLUE Fantasy players are super ecstatic about, and I'm also very excited about too, because characters make a fighting game in my opinion. So we'll see what characters are coming out soon and what characters are, what trailers are to come in the future, and we'll see when this game comes out. Anyways, I'm out of here. Thank you all for watching the video. Hopefully you guys are excited for this as I am. I want to learn more information. I want to see more. I'm getting the heckles out of here, and that's it for me today. Follow me on Twitter if you guys want to see more. The whole YouTube shebang. Like the video, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Take it easy, everybody. I'll see you guys on the flip side.